probably tried habit stacking before. The classic idea of after I brew my coffee, I'll do X, for example. I did that too. I stacked my physical therapy exercises onto my Nespresso routine, and I did them every single day, but the second I traveled, the habit just disappeared. Evaporated, vanished. No Nespresso machine, no physical therapy. Meanwhile, that same morning coffee routine, I once had to put a post-it note on the machine that said, "Don't brew," to avoid accidentally brewing coffee in the morning because I was going to get fasting blood work. I knew that I would do it on autopilot. How did I know that I would do it? Because the last time I needed to get fasting blood work, I was halfway through my cup of coffee. Even though I had to get up at a different time, morning routine was totally thrown off, all kinds of cues were different, but boy, did I press that brew button first thing. Remember to do that. And the thing is, there's nothing wrong with me. That's really common. Same brain, both situations had cue disruptions, two completely different results. And this is where a lot of habit advice, including Atomic Habits, kind of breaks down a little bit. Not because the book is wrong, it's not, it's awesome. This is just sort of like the missing chapter. It doesn't really spell out one big piece of habit science. And today we're going to break down the difference between what I'm going to call engineered habits and natural habits, and why some habits seem to stick for life and others collapse the second your routine changes. Your brain doesn't rely on just one habit system. It uses two overlapping systems to control behavior. This is a really simplified model, but neuroscientists do talk about goal-directed and habit systems, and they can share and shift control over time. The goal-directed system is your thinking system. It's flexible, deliberate, and it's really great for learning new behaviors. But it's also energy hungry, and it gets tired easily. The habit system, on the other hand, runs on autopilot. It executes routines efficiently with very little conscious effort. With repetition, neural control can gradually shift so behaviors run with less conscious oversight. But here's the key point. Not all habits ever make that shift. So let's use a simple distinction. We'll call them natural habits and engineered habits, like I said. Simple conceptual framework. This is not an official scientific papers, but it really maps closely to kind of how habits behave in everyday life, and that's what we're all about, is real life here. So natural habits are usually learned and reinforced over long periods. Engineered habits, on the other hand, and this is where a lot, maybe all, habit and productivity advice lies. These are intentionally constructed. They're often tied to one primary cue, more consciously maintained, strongly context dependent, and they're more likely to weaken when routines shift. When we confuse these two, people start thinking they're just bad at habits, bad at productivity, something like that. But they're actually just working with the wrong expectations of those habits. Advice like put your workout clothes out so that when you wake up in the morning, you'll put them on and go to the gym, or don't buy unhealthy snacks to put in the house so you don't eat them. This is great advice until you're just too tired to set your workout clothes out and you just want to go to sleep. Or maybe you forgot to do a load of laundry. Just recently I was chatting with a friend and she naturally eats a really balanced diet, protein, vegetables, without tracking anything. She barely thinks about it. I didn't grow up eating like that, not at all. I can't tell you how not at all it was. And my healthy eating routines were learned through research, trial and error, and months, going on years, of deliberate effort. But because she sees me eating healthy, she assumed that it was the same for both of us. And during that conversation, she suddenly realized something important. Her partner's defaults were totally different from hers. Not because he was undisciplined, but because his habits were just built differently. What feels intuitive to one person is often just a deeply reinforced habit from early life. And what feels really hard to someone else may simply be behavior that was engineered later and just never became automatic. Some people might look like they're executing natural habits, when in reality, they're putting forth effort every day to do that thing. Meanwhile, people might look at you wondering how you have so much self-discipline, when really it's just natural. We tend to undervalue what we don't work for, so it makes sense that we don't pat ourselves in the back for these natural habits and sometimes miss them altogether. After all, maybe we've just always done it. Now, let's go back to my physical therapy with an espresso machine habit stack I mentioned. And when I travel, the habit disappeared. Because many deliberately built habits either never fully move into automation or they take a lot longer than people expect. No Nespresso machine, and without the cue, the habit struggles to fire. A habit isn't just something that you do a lot. It's context response association. Research shows that your brain links a cue, like a place, a time, or a sensory signal, to a behavior. When that cue appears, the habitual behavior tends to fire automatically. When the cue disappears, you're much less likely to do the behavior unless you consciously decide to. This also explains why the 21-day or 30-day habit myth doesn't hold up. The average time to build an automatic habit is around 66 days, but that average is in the middle of 18 days all the way up to 250 days. That's almost a year, depending on the behavior. And some behaviors just never become highly automatic at all. They remain partly deliberate, even with long-term repetition. And most importantly, habits fire most automatically in the context that they were created in. Change the context, travel, new job, new schedule, and habit performance often drops really fast. So where does Atomic Habits fit into this? Well, James Clear's strategies are very evidence-based and can be very effective. Habit stacking, environment design, identity framing, making habits obvious and easy. But here's the missing clarification. Engineered habits are strongly context dependent. They often don't automatically generalize to new environments. That's not a flaw in the model, it's just how habit systems work, it's how we work. So what do you do with this? Well, first, stop expecting every habit to become natural. Some never become fully automatic, and that's okay. Second, identify which of your habits are engineered. These habits need more support and maintenance. Expect to spend energy on them and keep spending energy on them, and that's okay. Third, when your routine changes, just rebuild the cue. Use time-based triggers, digital reminders, recreate a small version of that cue in the new environment. For me, for example, I can set a timer in the morning to remind me to do physical therapy, but only when I travel because that's the only time I need it, right? Fourth, build redundancy. Natural habits usually have multiple triggers. Engineered habits shouldn't rely on just one. And finally, normalize drop-offs. A broken engineered habit isn't proof of laziness or that something didn't work. It's strong evidence that your cue vanished, not that your character failed. You're not bad at habits, you're not inconsistent, you're not lacking discipline, you're just expecting engineered habits to behave like natural ones. And the science shows they often don't. I've built a habit decoder to help you look at your natural versus engineered habits and figure out how to best use them. The link to that is in the description. Don't forget to subscribe for more like this.